I'm going to chat this morning on a little bit about who you are and who each of us are. So, who we are whilst we're operating through this physical body, this puppet suit, is not actually who we are. Who we are is the soul itself, the pure soul. But when we're born into this puppet suit, we then pick up on DNA, which are instructions, beliefs, and experiences, traumas, and strengths, all the characteristics of your parents. So, as you know, you'll inherit some of their physical characteristics: eye color, skin color, hair color, the conditions sometimes passed on about their heart, lungs, and blood, but also they're the physical attributes that you pick up, but most of what you pick up are the non-physical. So you also pick up traits from them, which they've also inherited through their parents, through their parents, through their parents. It keeps going back hundreds of thousands of years. I'm not sure how far it actually goes back, but I would think right back to the beginning of our species and even further, because however our species was created, if it was a mix of two different species, there's also the DNA from those species that comes through. So people today are really, in some ways, just a cesspool of all the traumas and experiences and hardships and wars and famines and everything that everyone before us has experienced. And you only have to look around society and you can see that it's just really in a pretty bad place. Most people are pretty messed up. They have no direction, and that's also because you haven't been taught about how to deal with these things or given much direction. So all this needs to be healed on a global, a planetary level, collectively, and that starts with you doing it individually. So as more and more people awaken, first of all, to that this is happening, and that people are instigating and coordinating this, then there is a narrative for this to happen. Once you wake up to that, then first you have to realize a problem, regardless of what you're doing, any parts of your life. Before you can fix a problem, you have to realize there's a problem, and then start working on fixing yourself. Because as more people wake up and start fixing themselves and start moving themselves into a better state of being, a happier state, higher vibration state, the entire vibrational frequency of the planet's consciousness, which is all of our consciousnesses combined, raises very fast, which is what's happening right now, a massive awakening due to things that have happened over the last couple of years, where people have realized, hold on, a lot of what we have been told and what we've always believed, it's just become so obvious that it's not true. So the people that are trying to do this to us have, in a way, it's backfired, because they've just hit it so hard, rather than in the past they've just crept it up. Totalitarian creep, I think David Icke refers to it as, over thousands of years. It's done a little bit of time, a war here, act of terrorism here, add this to the water, add this to the food supply. No one really, and through TV, programming, no one, or not no one, but a lot of people did realize something was up. A lot of people have spoken about this for many, many years, decades, but the majority of people, no, I don't believe this, but that majority is now questioning it. And I would think it's just the minority now that are just so fixed in their ways that they just can't accept it. It's called cognitive dissonance. Look up cognitive dissonance, and it's the inability for people to change when they're presented with new evidence to change their beliefs, because it's just too hard and there's just a big conflict in their head. Okay, so realize that we are a big cesspool of everything that our ancestors experienced, but also their strength. So that I just wanted to use the word cesspool so you can look around and see society in general, how bad it is, but also we've also got all their strengths for those that were able to come through whatever it was, wars and any sort of trauma, and get through hard times. We've got all their strengths too, and you already know that because everyone's been through really tough times and come out the other side without ending their life. And I'll tell you now that ending your life doesn't fix the problem, because you'll be sent straight back and reborn, and you'll have to face those set of challenges and lessons again. And if you want to know more about this, look up Dolores Cannon, who's a trance channeler. She was born for that purpose, to write this series of books. Everything she's written in her books, nothing's her ideas. It's all channeled from higher sources. And there's one book in particular, Between Death and Life, which I found really interesting. She also, I haven't read all her books, just the ones I sort of was interested in the titles. There's one called The Three Waves of Volunteers, which is really good. And it's about people that have been sent to the planet over the years, but particularly since around the 60s, 70s onwards, more and more people have come for the purpose of helping the planet, helping the people of the planet, rather than just to have just a normal life. They just are driven with this purpose to fix the planet. And she explains it in a lot of detail, and many people have spoken about this. And these people are really sometimes called the light workers. So they're helping to heal people, in the sense to help remove these traumas and beliefs that have been taught which aren't accurate, they're not in line with the truth, and they're not in line with your higher self or your soul's objectives. So things can be a lot better, and should have been a lot better for humanity, but because it got derailed a long time ago, it's worked out. We've ended up where we are now. This is where we're supposed to be now, because this is the way the universe allowed it to go, and we've chosen to be here at this time. We didn't have to be here. We've all chosen to be here, to incarnate here, to experience what's going on now, which is hard to get through. But you don't incarnate, you're not sent to experience these things at such a tough time if you're not given the tools, or don't already have the tools in you from your DNA and your ancestors to get through these tough times. So you're not just sent here just to make a mess of things and kill yourself, although that does happen, because sometimes people don't have the realization that they already have what's in them to get through it. You've got within you everything that you need to get through all your tough times. Even some people to the point of homelessness and lost their families. You can get through it, although it's a very terrible situation to be in, and you may just give up, but it's in there. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to start on your healing. You've probably already started, because we all have some level of intuition which we can develop, and just your basic intuition, even if it's not super strong, because you've lost that connection with yourself, with your soul, and you're more connected to the material world and what they tell you on the news and TV. You can start balancing it up. So, for instance, you may already feel that, I've got to get out into nature, or go to the beach as often as possible, or into the hills, or go and live in the hills, or move to the country, or drink filtered water, or it goes on and on as to things that you're more in line with. Start painting, start doing more of this, more of that. Well, you're pulling yourself back into alignment with the things that you enjoy and things that are going to start healing you. Singing for some people is healing through sound. You're painting for others. So if you've already started doing more things that you like, well, you're already on your way. You're already having some guidance. So your intuition is kicking in. But what we need to do is see when our ancestors have been through, let's just say, this is just an example, one was in a war and they had to parachute out of a plane in the middle of the night, and it was extremely traumatic, and a lot of their friends got shot on the way down, and they just managed to survive. And the ones that got shot, imagine the trauma that they've gone through. We may take, won't take them for an example because they won't be able to reproduce and pass their DNA on. So we'll take the ones that jumped out, saw their friends getting shot. They're extremely traumatized, and from then on, they've got a fear of heights and getting on planes and flying. So then they have children, and strangely, some of these children, maybe not all, because DNA, these traits can skip generations from what I understand, but may turn up in another generation. So when they go through this trauma, it's extremely strong emotion, creates a chemical marker in the DNA. So the DNA is changed, it's reprogrammed due to that situation. That part of the DNA is reprogrammed, and that chemical marker is now in the DNA, unless they know how to remove it, which no one's taught. Indigenous ancient cultures knew all this. They would remove it, so they're not passing on these sort of things ongoing. But modern medicine has kind of hidden a lot of these teachings, and there are still many people that know this stuff, but modern medicine really it's a business. There's corporations that make a lot of profit, have shareholders, and have to keep increasing their profit. So how can you keep increasing your profit if you're a business that provides medicine and you're supposed to be healing people? You can really only increase your profit if people are getting sicker. If someone dies, you're not going to make much money or any money off them. If someone's healthy, you're not going to make any money off them. So the idea is to keep people sick and getting sicker and sicker, because if the population is at a certain level of sickness, profits will stay at a certain level. But if there are ways to make them get sicker and sicker, then you can increase profit. So the shareholders will be happy. So let's go back to, so this guy's got this trauma, and it's left a chemical marker in his DNA. It's passed down to his children. Now, one or two of the children, from a very young age, they're afraid of heights, and they don't know why. And that could be, also similar sorts of situations. So I don't like heights. I don't know why. And there's nothing happened to me in this lifetime where I've had any problem. I haven't fallen off anything high that I remember, but I'm fine in a plane, I'm fine in a tall building, but just going out on the top level of the building, looking off, without railings, then I get this strange feeling. And climbing a tree to a great height, I don't like that. There's some fear there, and so all of us have some traits that we may not understand how and why. For instance, I'm claustrophobic. So why is that? I've never been trapped in anything that I remember which would create this sort of fear. But my mum mentioned to me not that long ago that I was trapped at birth, and it was serious. I almost died, and I was in intensive care. So I didn't remember that, and this I'm actually talking about this lifetime, obviously, but my soul remembers that trauma, and I remember it, although not consciously. So since then, I found myself quite claustrophobic, and I'll get a bit of anxiety. For instance, when I went for a visit to the caves up near Yanchep Way, I felt a bit of anxiety before going in. All of a sudden, I didn't expect it. It's like, enclosed area. So think about your own traits and how you behave as well. Maybe certain behaviors you have that you don't like, and of course there's certain ones that you do like. Your strengths, how you never give up, for instance, and they're the ones you want to keep. But look at the ones that you don't want. There may be one like it's to do. A lot of people have some to do with relationships. They keep chasing the wrong sort of person, and that might come back to childhood relationship with your father or mother. Often these are. You just have to find the link, or you treat people in a certain way, and then you might realise one day, hey, that's how I was treated in a way by mum, dad, or a grandparent, or brother, sister, and you realise, oh, you're just repeating the same behaviour. Somehow that was programmed into you by just through the experience of it. But then you might look at your parents and think, oh, hold on, tick, they were raised in a similar situation. So, for instance, if your mum treats you in a certain way, which, for instance, they may call it tough love, it's a bit traumatic for you, you might be a sensitive person, have a look back. How was she taught by her father or mother? Maybe one of them in another situation, one year, your mother or father not very loving, don't give you hugs, or maybe don't give you compliments or acknowledge when you're a kid or adult. When you did a drawing, they're not that ecstatic about it, and then you started to learn, okay, I can never please them, and then you find in life you're just trying to please, because it could go the other way, is trying to please everyone because you didn't get that. Or you might find when someone or your children show you something, you're not showing any emotion or happiness for them. So it could go one way or the other. And then you look at your parents' and you might find you'll see the same trait, and then go back generation. This has been passed down from a certain point where something happened to someone where they thought it was best and safest for them not to please somebody or to please somebody. Okay, so there's endless thousands, millions of scenarios where you might just need to look at yourself, analyze yourself, write down a list of things you like about yourself and don't like. Non-physical characteristics. You can do a physical list as well. That's the most obvious list, and people are changing that through all sorts of procedures and makeup and stuff. Of course, once you love yourself, which takes a bit of shadow work, then you're not trying to change your appearance, because once you love yourself, you'll find that the right person will love you and be attracted to you for who you are, the right people. But until that point, you'll try to change yourself and to become what you think other people want. So basically, you will attract, you'll do yourself up in a certain way and attract people that like that look, thinking that's what you want, but they've been attracted to that look and to the fake you, not the real you. So really, you don't want all this makeup and fake hair and fake lips and all this. You want to attract people who are attracted to you for your vibration. You want a vibrational match. Otherwise, it's going to be out, and long term, it's unlikely to work. So how do we fix all this trauma and these DNA markers that are not for our highest good? Well, we thought they were for our highest good at the time, because we behave in certain ways to protect ourselves, but now to become our full selves, a highest version of, as some people say, and step into our power and start doing our jobs, what we're here for, as in our mission of raising the vibration of the planet and the collective consciousness. We need to start removing all these shadows, these parts of us that we don't like to acknowledge, or didn't even realize that they were there. Hopefully now you realize that there are all these things about you that can be improved. So look up shadow work. There's one lady on YouTube who I found is really good at explaining this. Her name's Christina Lopes, Lopes. And I know many people, probably about 20 people that I've been working with over many years to go through a lot of my past, identify the shadows or things that have happened to either me or one lady, she went back 1,300 years and found something that happened back then. She couldn't pinpoint the event that happened, but she knows it happened to like great grandmother's grandfather, blah blah blah, went back, and it's come through right through to me, and then will get passed on, continue to be passed on. So we have to stop this now, so it's not passed on and messing up future generations. And she identified some things, and a lot of things she identified was, as in I knew, was spot on. I didn't know about these past life connections, but I knew in my life things she was talking about me was spot on. Things like she picked up at a certain age, and she told me the exact age. I was stung by a wasp. The wasp venom, energetic residue, is now affecting me. It's still affecting me. So not the venom itself, but the energetic residue. And she'll tell me exact things, like a certain age, where I met a certain person, or best friend left the school and it created a trauma in the form of an abandonment trauma, and then she goes about starting to heal this or release these beliefs that affect your future relationships. This the wasp venom was also picked up by two other separate people. The lady over east, name's Rosie Bissett in Queensland. Her form of light work is called Body Code, and there's a lady in Perth, Bernie Kalmari, and she does Body Talk. So she actually just recently picked up on the wasp venom as well, and that it's affected my thyroid. So my thyroid is working a little bit faster than it should, which can make me a little bit more anxious than I should be or could be. So if she can bring that down a bit, not through mainstream medication, not through pharmaceutical medication, but energetically, and I'm working in conjunction with a naturopath who uses certain essential oils. He also picked it up. He's got a machine he hooks you up to. It tests about 8,000 different things and gives you a printout, and all spot on. The wasp venom came up. Stuff that I'm having too much of came up, like my body's doesn't want this sort of quantity. And the number one was eggs. I've started eating a lot more eggs recently as part of my training and my protein, and that was picked up through the machine immediately. I picked up 4 common types of dust that my body doesn't like, so I'm allergic to. I already knew I was allergic to dust, so that was spot on. And a lot of the stuff that he picked up through this printout I knew, and a lot I didn't know. So a lot of the stuff I've got to stop using, stop taking, and be more careful about, and just start bringing myself into more alignment. So he's working with herbs on the thyroid, and his name's Garth, and he's just in Wilson. And Bernie's working on energetically working on the thyroid. And the thyroid thing was picked up 2 years ago as well by the Body Code lady. So I'm just giving you examples. There are a lot of light workers around that are here already doing their thing. They've quit their old jobs, moving from old jobs into what they're in alignment, because they also were, although they've always known they were intuitive and different, they've also had their own traumas, and we'll always have some to deal with, and they were in the mainstream system, but they're coming out, and some have totally come out, and they're doing the healing work that they've been sent here to do, because this is the time that everyone needs it, and it's a transformation of humanity. So, I mean, it obviously costs money to get people to help you with this, but you can do it yourself, but you have to spend the time to study it. So get on YouTube or Google and start learning about healing yourself energetically and light work. So Christina Lopes, sorry, not light work, shadow work. You can look at light workers in general and what they're here for, because you might find, especially if you're listening to this video or this audio, you might actually be one, and you're just sort of waking up to it now. And that's it for today's audio. Thank you.